person.
The Pew Research says that there are, for immigrants on the whole,
Come on, try getting it out. Try getting it out.
I'll get it out.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to put this on television, but you don't even know what you're talking about. Try getting it out. Go ahead. I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President. I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President.
me. That's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with
you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming
investigation
down?
because it's a hoax.
Are you?
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN.
Do you want him to rein in Robert Mueller?
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
President-elect Donald Trump is a savage when it comes to interviews. And unlike President Joe Biden, he faces the press without the need for somebody like Karine Jean-Pierre. Although Biden did face them once this year, that had the press literally gasping because they couldn't believe it. But because we're getting President Trump back, we're set to see him face the White House press yet again, which leads me to talk about a possible change that's coming. Something that these so-called journalists are not excited about.
I love this. Donald Trump may consider giving people like the aforementioned Joe Rogan a seat in the White House press briefing room instead of the mainstream media. I love it when the cat is put among the pigeons. That would cause a meltdown, wouldn't it, Brent?
Yeah, but let's look at reality here. In the campaign coverage, as we documented, it was 85% negative coverage by the networks on Donald Trump. During the 2020 campaign, it was the same thing. During his first presidency, it was the same thing. During the 2016 campaign, it was the same thing. These networks are not news networks. They're hitmen for the far left against Donald Trump. He has every right to look at them and say, you don't have a right to be in this press briefing. You're not reporting the news. I'm going to bring in other people. I'm bringing in Joe Rogan, who, by the way, has got a massive audience, and you don't. Your audiences are imploding. CNN's audience is imploding. MSNBC is imploding. Why does he care to have them in there?
And before we talk about how big of a decision this is, let's address mainstream media. It's no surprise that a majority of them don't like Trump. They've lied about him several times. They've misquoted him and they've painted him as a dictator. So it does make sense that he'd want people who just want to report the truth instead of creating division. President Trump faced these reporters knowing that he was all against them. And yet he still answered their questions as respectfully as he could. That is, of course, until these same members of the press became incredibly disrespectful to the president. And I showed you guys just a few examples at the start of this video. And so now comes the biggest issue for these networks. Their ratings are garbage right now. The majority of the country is now aware that they've been lied to. And it was evident during this year's presidential elections as President Trump won by a landslide. This is despite legacy media attacking him over and over. They also did their very best to prop up Vice President Kamala Harris, which has led to even more distrust from the public. I mean, look at the demo when it comes to cable TV. As you can see, the left-leaning CNN and MSNBC are pulling in historically low numbers. During prime time, CNN got 79,000 viewers, while MSNBC got 60,000. For reference, Fox got 323,000 viewers during the same period. Now, I understand that not everybody is still glued to their TVs. I get it. But getting less than 100,000 viewers when the country consists of 300 million is insane. To add to that, it looks like Democrats who used to watch these networks have now chosen to stop watching altogether. And this is the survey for viewers aged 25 to 54 years old.
As a result of the US election, CNN have started laying off staff and MSNBC have lost a huge chunk of their audience. CNN, back in 2016, their election coverage had 13.3 million viewers. But at the most recent election, just a week ago, they went from 13.3 million viewers in 2016 to just 5 million viewers. Oof. Fox News, by comparison, had twice that many people tuning in to their election coverage. It seems like people didn't want to watch election coverage from people who'd spent 4 years lying to them. In fact, I suspect about half of the audience that did tune into CNN were people like me who just wanted to see how they were doing because we were concerned about their mental health as results started to come in. MSNBC primetime viewership has decreased by 54% in the days after the election, while Fox viewership for the same primetime slot has gone up 61%. Again, I can't imagine why people don't want to tune into MSNBC right now. I mean, who doesn't want to turn on the television and hear that you're racist and misogynist and watch TV hosts crying?
And so this brings up the importance of alternative media. It's hard to ignore the fact that going on podcast helped President Trump win this year. And he wasn't just on Rogan. He was also on Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, Andrew Schultz, all of which garnered millions and millions of views. Now, just imagine having these individuals included in White House press briefings, right? Donald Trump Jr. revealed the possibility of this happening, admitting that incoming White House press secretary Carolyn Leavitt may rework the briefing room seating arrangement. That's right, guys. Trump Jr. said that having the likes of Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly in the briefing room, it's for sure going to turn some heads. It's probably also going to get some pushback from the White House Correspondents Association, especially when you realize that there's only 49 seats in the West Wing chamber. But we have to admit that some of these seats aren't getting enough viewers, meaning that it might be time for a change given that media is evolving. There are voters who tuned into these podcasts with Trump and suddenly decided to vote for him because they got a chance to finally see him for who he is, not the person that legacy media wanted us to see. You know what I mean? It's also going to help to spread the news that much more, given that a lot of us have been misinformed for so long. Which now brings me to social media. One of the biggest names out there would be Meta or Facebook. Believe it or not, Mark Zuckerberg was said to have met with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
Zuckerberg had expressed praise for Trump earlier this year for his defiant posture after he was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania by a would-be assassin. It's interesting, a couple of things about this. You know, clearly Zuckerberg wants to have a better relationship with Trump. Zuckerberg, once upon a time, was a funder of an immigration advocacy group. Stephen Miller is Trump's one of his most powerful advisors, and also the person who largely drives or shares with Trump his hardline immigration agenda. And so it's really interesting hearing Stephen Miller talking about this meeting on television earlier. I think we will learn more, but we are seeing, as with a number of industries, but certainly the tech industry, a lot of people coming to Trump and not the other way around.
Huge changes seem to be coming to our country, folks, which for many can actually be considered as sort of a coming together moment, if you know what I mean. Now, on that note, Kamala Harris wants her donors to do the same thing. This is because they're now realizing that money doesn't last forever. Now, I covered this in a previous video where the VP is begging for money so as to pay for this $20 million debt that she racked up. This is a must-see right after this one, guys. But as always, thanks so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. Check out this video that's coming up here next or our playlist down below, and we'll see you guys on the next one.